get in charge one more time. I mean, they were talking about cracking down on hate speech online. Like, that free speech is not hate speech. That Tim Walz guy was actually saying that.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
Hate speech. Free speech does not include hate speech. Like, what are you, by whose definition? Yours? A guy who thinks tampons should be in the boys' room?
After it's born.
Trying to distort the way a law is written to try and make a point, that's not it at all.
What was I wrong about, Governor? Please tell me, what was I wrong about?
That is not the way the law is written. Look, I've given
but
this...
how?
I've given this advice on a lot of things, that getting involved, getting engaged, that's been misread, and it was fact-checked at the last debate.
From 2015 to 2023, which was the date Tim Walz repealed the law requiring life-saving care, 24 babies were born alive in Minnesota after an attempted abortion.
Imagine if brain fog put on a suit and started signing bills. You'd get something that looks a lot like Tim Walz. Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly just drop-kicked his entire agenda into next week. Ever wonder what happens when a governor runs a state like an unsolicited improv class? Spoiler alert, disaster. Stick around, Rogan's bringing the jokes. Kelly's got the receipts. And Tim Walz, he's got confusion. This is the roast Minnesota didn't ask for, but definitely needed.
Part of this gang of ne'er-do-well criminals. And the whole movie, you know that there is a big boogeyman lurking named Kaiser Soze. And Kevin Spacey's character gets dragged into the police station early on, and they are really tough on him. They start questioning him. Chaz Palminteri does a great job of cross-examining him. And at the end of the movie, you find out that this guy doesn't have the limp he pretended to have, doesn't have like a bent hand that he pretended to have, that he's perfectly fine. He struts off into the sunset, and we learn he was the bad guy all along. And I have to tell you, Mark, that is how I'm feeling today about Tim Walz. This guy scares.
Tim Walz, Minnesota's very own political IKEA chair, wobbly, overpriced, and somehow falling apart straight out of the box. Every time he speaks, it's like assembling confusion with missing instructions. Leave it to Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly to roast him like a Thanksgiving turkey, one stuffed with indecision and policy backfires.
That Tim Walz got into power? Like, if Kamala died and Tim Walz, Tampon Tim, president, you know how crazy this country would be? That weirdo who puts tampons in the boys' room. And what about our joy? Like, he's a complete pathological liar. Like a complete liar. Lied about being in Tiananmen Square, lied about being a head coach of a football team.
I thought some of that was just weird and how avoidable it was.
100% avoidable, but pathological liars, people that are habitual liars, they just lie all the time about everything.
But there's a way
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon. But let's dive straight into the epic unraveling of Tim Oopside Did Again Walz. This guy's idea of leadership, it's like playing SimCity on hard mode, with the controller unplugged. He governs like he's chasing a participation trophy in a leadership escape room. Every move triggers a new locked door, a fresh smoke alarm, and one more reason Minnesotans pretend they're from Wisconsin.
They bring in her, and they bring in this other guy who's radical from Minnesota. That's the vice president, who he believes a lot of wild things. One of them is transgender surgery for people who are under 13. Another one is abortion up until 9 months.
Ooh.
Yeah. He changed the Minnesota state flag to make it look like a Somali flag. That stuff scares the fuck out.
Joe Rogan took one look at Tim Walz's pandemic policies and nearly choked on his elk jerky. Watching Walz handle COVID was like watching someone attempt brain surgery with a selfie stick. 1 week it was stay home, stay safe, and the next it was come on out. We believe in you, like the virus just needed a polite invitation to leave. Awkward party guest style. Tim managed COVID like he was trying to land a plane while scrolling Yelp reviews for the nearest brewery.
Continues for Tim Walz on the disastrous performance he delivered, in particular when it comes to his self-described knuckle-headed behavior. This one was that he was in China when the Tiananmen Square disaster unfolded, when hundreds of people were killed.
I have my dates wrong. I was in Hong Kong and China in 1989. That move from Hong Kong into China, it was profound for me. That was the summer of democracy. I said it's where I understood how sacred democracy was. It's what encouraged me, about 15 back and forth with my students, taking them to China. I speak like everybody else speaks. I need to be clear, I will tell you that. I do understand China a hell of a lot better than Donald Trump. Kamala Harris understands China.
The excuse for his lies, Michael, is I speak like everybody.
And of course, Megyn Kelly wasn't far behind, wielding sarcasm like a chainsaw at a Build-A-Bear workshop. Watching her talk about Walz is like hearing someone review a poorly written Hallmark movie, full of plot holes, predictable disasters, and someone sobbing over cheese in a canoe. She basically turned him into a political piñata stuffed with broken promises, soggy mandates, and a few crumpled press releases that say absolutely nothing. And let's not forget the epic saga of Tim Walz vs. Law & Order, a clown show, so wild it deserves its own Netflix doc, narrated by a bald eagle on antidepressants. Walz's idea of public safety, like putting a squirrel in charge of airport security, chaotic, nuts, and constantly darting in the wrong direction. Picture it. Minneapolis looked like someone lost a bet with a flame, and there was Captain Empathy, holding a press conference, staring blankly into the camera like a substitute algebra teacher who just realized he walked into a biology class. He mumbled something about healing, listening, and probably community gardens, while chaos rolled through the streets like a demolition derby hosted by anarchists.
He was 100% right with Tim Walz.
Saying on my phone, I know some of you know this on the iPhone, they've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping.
I mean, that guy was almost the vice president of the United States. I'm sure you've seen that thing where it shows Obama saying, I need a vice president that's dumber than me.
And then
it's Biden and Biden saying, I need a vice president dumber than me.
Great.
And it's Kamala saying, I need a vice president dumber than me. And it's Walz.
No, this is why
men have tampons.
I used to think the Democrats were crazy for saying that men have periods, but then I met Tim.
Meanwhile, law enforcement disappeared like a magician's assistant. Poof, gone. Tim ghosted them harder than your ex after a "you up" text. Even Joe Rogan was stunned and basically said, who is this guy, and does he even go here? Tim Walz governs like someone who clicked on an online course called Leadership for Dummies. Watched the intro, then got distracted by raccoon videos on YouTube. He's the only governor who can read a teleprompter and still look confused. Like he's trying to remember his own name. His buzzword game. Pure magic. He throws out words like equity, innovation, and resilience like he's playing political bingo in a wind tunnel. The problem? None of it matters when the city looks like a Mad Max movie set. Tim doesn't fix problems. He hosts them, gives them name tags, offers them hummus.
Doug Brunt, my husband, he doesn't react to that much in the news. So when it gets his attention, I know that something's gone either very right or very wrong. And he did not like this clip from Tim Walz reacting to the Taylor Swift news. Watch.
Taylor Swift signed childless cat lady. I have to get your response to that, Mr. Governor.
All those things, I am incredibly grateful, first of all, to Taylor Swift. I say that also as a cat owner, a fellow cat owner. Look, Swifties, you heard it. We know that it's there. That was eloquent, and it was clear. And that's the type of courage we need in America to stand up.
And my husband said he looks like Elmer Fudd. That's what he looks like, Elmer Fudd. Like there's something off about this.
Let's talk fashion because we have to. Tim Walz dresses like a dad who lost a bet and had to show up to a PTA meeting in whatever was on his laundry chair. Windbreaker check. Confused expression. Double check. The energy of a guy who just got asked for directions in a state he supposedly runs. Triple check. He looks like he wandered out of a Home Depot and accidentally became governor during a raffle. The man radiates beige, could walk through a khaki warehouse and disappear. Now, education. Oh boy. Megyn Kelly didn't just criticize him, ICH intellectually scalped him. His education policies feel like they were pulled from a Pinterest board run by someone who just discovered Wi-Fi. He claps for kindergartners opening Chrome tabs while high schoolers are out here Googling how to math with tears in their eyes. He shut down schools like he was racing to beat rush hour, then reopened them like it was a game of educational whack-a-mole. Under Walz, students didn't thrive, they survived. They mastered the art of muting themselves on Zoom, fake nodding during class, and comforting their parents mid-algebra meltdown. Test scores tanked like a crypto scam. And somehow Tim still tried to slap a gold star on it and call it progress.
Girl from Minnesota, that's the vice president, who he believes a lot of wild things. One of them is transgender surgery for people who are under 13. Another one is abortion up until 9 months.
Ooh.
Yeah. Obviously, there's reasons why people medically would, like, if the woman's life is in danger, if the child has something wrong, it's not going to live. There's reasons why they choose to do things like that. But that stuff.
Meanwhile, teachers were stuck in a Kafkaesque maze of ever-changing rules. First it was online, then in person, then both while juggling knives and decoding riddles from the Department of Education's escape room division. Their reward, a thank you coupon for half off at Subway. And remember when Walz tried to please both teachers' unions and parents? It was like watching a guy at a dinner party flirt with everyone only to get rejected by the wine. Joe Rogan nailed it. It's like someone doing yoga while chasing a raccoon out of their garage. Pointless, and bound to end with someone getting rabies. Now let's talk economy, or, as Tim calls it, that thing I think about between naps. His economic plan feels like duct taping a leaky dam while handing out canoe rental coupons. While small businesses were collapsing faster than his credibility, Walz was busy hyping another grant program, one that paid consultants to figure out why people didn't want to work. Spoiler, they were broke.
Governor Walz, moderate and a representation of middle America. That's not true. He's not moderate. Driver's licenses for illegals, check. Free tuition for illegals, check. Free health insurance, free that is, for illegals, check. Who pays for that again? Does Governor Walz just like draft an imaginary check from an imaginary pot of money? Oh wait, no, it's the taxpayers. He's all for teenagers undergoing life-altering gender surgeries, and by the way, he wants to take your child away from you if you won't okay them. He supports putting tampons in the boys' bathrooms for kids as young as the 4th grade.
Megyn Kelly practically had smoke coming out of her ears over Walz's energy policies. This is a man who seems to have declared war on reliable electricity like it insulted his cousin. Minnesota winters are already cold enough to freeze your soul, but Walz was basically like, what if we made it colder? For equity, he pushed for wind turbines, while people froze in their own homes. If irony were a power source, Minnesota would be a nuclear plant by now, and transportation. A miracle, if only in the biblical sense. Lots of faith, very little logic. Walz decided what Minnesota really needed was more trains. Not working trains, the idea of trains. Projects costing billions that go nowhere and run entirely on vibes. He greenlit rail plans that would make Elon Musk blush minus the budget. Charisma, or functioning machinery. Meanwhile, roads fell apart. Potholes got so bad they were practically sentient. Cyclists commuted on hope and shoulder shrugs. Joe Rogan couldn't stop laughing. He said, "This guy's infrastructure plan is like a 12-year-old describing a treehouse to his parents' big dreams. No blueprint, and duct tape holding it all together." While Tim dreams of Montreal-style transit, the rest of Minnesota just wants a snowplow that works and a pothole patch that lasts more than 5 days.
Didn't. Why are you saying you deployed at war? The weapons you used in war? No, you weren't in war. Like, oh, you were a head coach? No, you weren't a head coach. You were the water boy.
Yeah.
The fuck are you talking about?
I thought some of that was weird.
Well, he's just a liar. But that's what a lot of these people are. They're just actors who are ugly. And they're like, well, I can't really make it in show business. And I want a lot of attention. And I want to be a special person. So I'll do politics. I'm good at bullshitting.
Mm-hmm.
And most people, they're trusting. They're like, oh, he's saying the right things. If you say the right things, abracadabra. And then next thing you know, you're a fucking governor.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the piece de resistance Walz's legendary communication skills. This is a man who could give a TED Talk titled How to Say Nothing for 40 minutes. He speaks like someone who swallowed a thesaurus and forgot what the words mean. Listening to a Tim Walz speech is like playing Mad Libs on a broken Etch-a-Sketch. He's the only governor who can make a simple announcement about recycling sound like a badly translated IKEA manual. Megyn Kelly shredded him for it like a wood chipper in a library. According to her, Walz sounds like he's trying to channel both Gandhi and Bob Ross. While delivering bad news, we believe in community, accountability, and a sustainable future-forward initiative. What does that mean, Tim? Are we getting more recycling bins? Or did you just legalize interpretive dance as a response to crime?
I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show. Vice President Kamala Harris delivered her closing message last night at the Ellipse in Washington, D.C. A brief, scripted, of course it was. Whose words were these? Whose thoughts were these? Whose promises were these? Speech where she urged all Americans to, quote, stop pointing fingers and start locking arms. Oh, by the way, Trump is Hitler. It's like the same as Joe Biden after he was inaugurated. I will be a unifier. I am looking for unity. Trump is Hitler. And no sooner had she ended.
Joe Rogan delivered the ultimate burn. Tim Walz is the human version of an expired granola bar, looks fine on the outside, makes you sick if you consume too much. And honestly, Minnesotans are reaching for political anticides like their sanity depends on it. But wait, there's more. Let's talk about how Walz handles accountability, or more accurately, how he sprints in the opposite direction like a guy who just spotted his ex at the grocery store. Everything is someone else's fault. The last administration, systemic complexity, or Mercury being in retrograde. The man has more excuses than a high schooler who forgot his homework and spilled Mountain Dew on the dog. And whenever someone tries to press him on his record, he pulls the classic Walz two-step, smile awkwardly, mumble we're working on it, and vanish into a fog of government jargon like Batman disappearing into a PowerPoint.
Walz is out there talking again.
These are bad guys, though. These are bad guys.
Did you say you could fight any Trump supporter?
Yeah, he says he kicked their ass. And
I think I could kick most of their ass. I do think that.
They're scared of him because he could fix a truck.
I think I scare them a little bit, why they spend so much time on it.
They're threatened by his masculinity. I know how to fix a truck.
No, I'm serious, because I can fix a truck. They know I'm not bullshitting.
Do you? I bet you don't.
How do we push some of those guys back under a rock? You don't think it's racism and misogyny?
I bet if I bring a broken truck to you and a bag of tools, you're
Megyn Kelly summed it up perfectly. Tim Walz governs like he's trying not to get caught. Every move feels calculated not to solve problems, but to avoid blame. His leadership playbook, hashtags, half measures, and a Coldplay playlist to cry to after every press conference. And who could forget the great mask debate? Walz rolled out mask mandates like Oprah giving out cars. You get a mask. You get a mask. But no one actually knew the rules. Just wear something. Probably bought when confusion hit. He did what any true leader would do, blamed the CDC, the weather, and maybe even gluten. Joe Rogan joked that the only thing more inconsistent than Walz's mask policies was the Wi-Fi at a Minneapolis Starbucks. Kelly added that at one point, people were just tying socks to their faces and hoping it counted.
Out there to be sort of man of the people, you know, in his flannel and like a real regular working class guy, like a teacher you can relate to. And the latest effort was him this weekend, like working on his car. He's just like a guy who works on the car and kicks the engine around. Here is a bit of an ad. This is an ad showing him working on this car. Watch.
Everything works on here, except one thing I'm still tinkering with, cruise control. So I'm going to show you how to fix that. At the same time, we talk about creating an opportunity.
All of this adds up to a beautiful mosaic of confusion where every policy decision feels like throwing a dart at a spinning wheel labeled hope for the best. And somehow, every time Walz throws that dart, it lands squarely on make everything worse. Then announce a task force. But perhaps the greatest irony of all is Tim Walz's obsession with unity. He talks about bringing people together like he's planning a family reunion, no one RSVP'd to. His version of unity. Alienate half the state while hugging a wind turbine, and shouting about empathy over Zoom. Joe Rogan nailed it. Tim Walz wants to lead a kumbaya circle in the middle of a burning building. And Megyn Kelly didn't even bother sugarcoating it. This guy couldn't unify a box of crayons. Now, Minnesota is trapped in his coloring book of contradictions, and we're all just trying not to get scribbled into oblivion.
Oh, he believes a lot of wild things. One of them is transgender surgery for people who are under 13.
So for those out there who are wondering, aren't there something else you could be doing or it doesn't seem to impact you in your life? This is what it means to show empathy. This is what it means to be welcoming.
He changed the Minnesota state flag to make it look like the Somali flag. You haven't seen that?
But our current flag is problematic. I think we all know that. We've evolved into a more diverse state, and I think it's more.
So here we are, a state rich in lakes, culture, and resilience, led by a man who seems to think leadership is an improv game where no one ever gets to yell scene. Joe Rogan roasted him like marshmallows over the dumpster fire of Walz's decisions, while Megyn Kelly served sarcasm like hors d'oeuvres at the political apocalypse, and Tim Walz just stood there, blinking slowly, probably wondering if next time he should just lead by consulting a magic 8-ball instead.